I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Zack. And this is episode 537 of the Lawyerist Podcast, part of the Legal Talk Network. Today, I talk with lab coach Supriya about emotional regulation and how we can use sighs, laughs, shake it off in order to kind of rewire our biological responses to things.
Sighs, like that type of sighs?
Yeah.
Not like sighs as in a measure of something.
No. Like, so kind of like if you're having bad reactions to things, you have emotional reactions to walking into a courthouse. Well, you can quite literally shake it off.
Shake it off.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when you say lab coach, let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, how about you talk about it? So Supriya,
why should I talk about it?
Yeah, Supriya is a lab coach for Lawyerist Lab. She's one of our coaches. What's our coaching program, Jennifer? What is that?
So the reason that I'm going to talk about it is because I run our coaching program, and I was trying to get Zack to be my hype man before I started the answer, and he didn't take the bait, and that's fine. That's just fine. You know what? Lab is what we call a lawyer coaching program. It's a business coaching program.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is, and you've probably heard this before, lawyers go to school, they learn how to be a lawyer. They think, I should open my own firm. And they forget, or they don't know, that there's a whole other side to a firm, and that's running a business. I mean, people go get their MBA to learn how to run businesses. So it is not surprising that a lawyer gets in there and is like, wait, finances, marketing, budgeting, hiring.
What's a profit and loss?
What's a profit and loss? I'm supposed to do all of this. So there's no shame in not knowing because nobody taught you this.
Right.
And so in lab, we teach you this. And the coaching. Oh, go ahead. You were going to say something, and I didn't.
Why do you call it lab?
Well, Zack, let me tell you. It's because we experiment. I'd like to think of lab as you don't come in here and we have one way we do things. It is structured. You follow this. We want you to be bold and experiment and try different things in your firm because this is what Stephanie Everett, who, one of the greats of Lawyerists, has always said, small firms are the agile speedboats against the big barges of law. And that means you get to try different fun things that you couldn't do in a big firm. You can try different fee structures. You can try a really interesting team culture. But in lab, you get to experiment with other people doing the same thing and get support and cheerleading and advice. And everybody's saying yes to you. Like, we're going to help you figure this out. It's cool.
Well, so how does having a coach help me do that?
Well, I mean, Zack, you're a coach. Mean, you're a lab coach. It's true, but you're also a running coach. And as you know, and anybody that's had a gym coach, a sports coach, it's hard to do it on your own because you don't have a neutral party to reflect back on. If you're just doing it on yourself.
I wouldn't even say neutral party. I'd say cheerleader at times.
Yeah, cheerleader. A neutral party in that it's not like they're not in it with you, but they are beside you, helping you figure it out. And they're also the experts. They've done this before. They've done this with dozens and dozens of other people. So to have someone that knows what they're doing and can see maybe what you can't see and guide you that way, I think is necessary.
So how much effort does this take on my part? How much do I have to kind of jump into this? Do I have to be being coached constantly?
That's a great question. No, you're not being coached constantly, but you do need to want to do it. You need to want to make a change. You need to want to have that drive to have a good life, whether it's work life, personal life, and put in the work. And what does the work mean? It means, yes, you're showing up to these calls and you're being vulnerable and you're talking through your business and you're doing the work with your coach to do that. But a lot of it is also the community portion of it. It's not like our coaches are just talking at you. You're also with other people doing the same thing who are going to help you and give you ideas. You're going to go to workshops. You're going to go to our annual conference. There's a lot of different elements that are part of this. Coaching is one of it. It's a big part of it. but it's a whole toolbox to help you live the best life that you can in your business and your personal life.
And if they want to learn more, they can always go to Lawyerist.com/coaching and they can get to the right place. So now though, here is my conversation with one of our coaches, Supriya.
Hi, I'm Supriya Venkatesan, a mindset and business coach at Lawyerist.
Hey, Supriya. Thanks for being with me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited for today.
Yeah. So you and I talk about, you're a mindset and business coach, and a lot of times you and I talk about kind of self-care and different ways that business owners can kind of take care of themselves or work through problems in their offices. And help me think about, maybe a different way that business owners might not know of or might not be taking advantage of as we go into the end of the year here.
Yeah. So one thing that's been very interesting from many LabCoach experience, including at LabCon, I did some exercises on somatic regulation. And what that means, because people are probably like, what? Those are two words that I've never heard before.
Those are English words. Yes. But I don't know what I don't know where they go. Yeah.
Yeah. Or how they work together.
Mm-hmm.
So most of us at this point are probably familiar with neuroplasticity, the idea that the brain can change and we have neural pathways that can be changed.
Mm-hmm.
What few people realize is there's bioplasticity. So we have these neural pathways in the body that have also been established and they can be changed as well. Just like your brain can change in the way it stored information, so can your body. So we store information in both places because we are people. We store information in our fascia, in our muscles, in our organs, in literal it's called bioplasticity, like pathways in the body itself. And we can change that through a variety of techniques, which is really powerful in business because everything comes back to the self, to the human being. We like to think that we're like super analytical and super logical and it's about strategy this and tactics of that. But who's making those choices and who has those thoughts and feelings? It's you.
Yeah. Because running a business, and certainly as a law firm owner, it is very personal. It is very, it is a lot of times our baby, and it is physically us making these decisions, and you make these decisions based on kind of, you don't want to say they're based on how you feel. You don't want to say that they're based on we want to be super analytical, especially as lawyers. So talk to me a little bit more about that. What do we mean, or how can adjusting some of these pathways help us as attorneys?
Yeah, it can help in literally any reaction that we have. So any reaction we have in the moment to any business problem or anything that we experience is not rooted in the moment, it's rooted in the past. If I can just quickly talk about the science.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So I'm sure many people here have heard of Pavlov and Pavlov's dogs. We probably studied in high school or in college, just depending on our school history.
It rings a bell.
Yeah, exactly. But for those who are not familiar, Pavlov was a scientist who studied the stomachs of dogs. And what he did as part of his research was to feed the dog to study the digestive system. And he would first ring a bell and then put the food out, and then the dogs would eat. Initially, when he put the food out, the dogs would salivate from the smell of the food, like, oh, this is delicious. Over time, that salivation started to occur through the ringing of the bell. So the stimulus changed, the trigger changed, but the reaction was the same. So that's what happened with the dogs. But this happens in our bodies. So over time, we have all of these pathways that we've created from a trigger and a response. So maybe the trigger could be if I hear somebody in a specific tone of voice say something, I'm going to feel some type of way. Right? That's like one example.
Yeah. Okay. If I get a particular email at a particular time, I'm gonna jump. If I, maybe as I walk into a particular courthouse.
Yes.
I'm going to feel a certain way. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be a visual trigger. Yeah.
Yeah.
That you're describing. Yeah. It can be physical, kinesthetic. So triggers can happen different ways in our body. It can be visual, auditory, or kinesthetic if you want to break it down even further. So it could be something sound. It could be something we see. It could be something that we feel, like maybe a temperature or a sensation. Like sometimes something tactile, like the feel of my keyboard can make me feel tired, for example, or motivated.
More likely tired for me. Yeah. Okay. So these could be, as you're talking about this, these could be positive. These could be negative. These could be moderately neutral. But they're affecting us.
Yes.
They are doing something.
Yeah. And they're there all the time unless we become aware of it. So what's important for us to recognize is whatever response we're having in the moment. I just got off a call with a client right before our podcast, and she's about to go into a meeting, and she doesn't feel good about the client meeting she has just because of some history with the co-counsel.
Okay.
And I was like, well, as we dug into it, it's not rooted in today. It's rooted in something in the past. That pathway of her emotional pattern is not from this meeting, from these people, from this dynamic, but from something before. So then we identified what is that pathway, and let's change that pathway. And we did. And now she feels neutral about that meeting.
Okay. So I guess kind of first step is we've got to recognize that there's something there. There's some sort of history there, that there's something that is affecting our reaction to this thing in the present. We're reacting to a thing in the present based on something in the past.
Correct.
And so we need to figure that out, and then potentially we could adjust that.
Exactly.
Okay. How?
That's a great question. Yeah. So there's many ways of changing it. So to deeply change it, I say really involves having a coach to help you discover what that pattern is. But in the moment to change it, which you can, it's not going to be a deep change, like a lasting change, but it'll certainly change it for the moment. There's a few different things you can use. One is shaking or tapping. So just like physically shaking your body.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So animals do this naturally. So if you see animals in the wild after any stress response, like being attacked or having some, violent act occur, they just shake because they're literally shaking off the stress.
Yeah, just kind of shuddering it, Okay.
Yeah. Dancing is kind of a form of shaking if you think about it.
Yeah.
So you can also dance, and just like, not like ballroom dancing was rigid, but some like,
Yeah, it's something fluid, something getting you moving, getting your body going. Okay.
Yeah. The next is tapping. So you can tap your body everywhere. So you're literally like breaking the pathways that are there.
So not tapping like on the table, like tapping myself.
Yeah. So yeah, for people who are listening, not watching this, I'm tapping my shoulders, my chest, my belly, wherever I might feel the tension, or not feel the tension, just everywhere. Just
okay.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to reach towards your back, like your low back, and tap down there as well.
It's for me, things like that are always in my upper back.
Yeah.
Like right under my neck is where I kind of hold those. I go to anxiety with this. And that's probably because it's like, that's the thing that I notice. Like if I were to notice something where I say, hey, past actions, past things in my life, past interactions are affecting the present, it's probably going to be that I've noticed anxiety. It's unlikely that it's going to be that I've noticed, oh man, this makes me super happy. And then I hold anxiety, as far as I can tell, kind of in the top of my back, I guess.
Yeah. So that would be a good place to tap. Another tool for you, and for anybody, not just necessarily for anxiety, but for any emotion, is tied to what's called the vagus nerve, which the top upper of your body and your neck is connected to. So the vagus, we have many nerves in our body. The vagus nerve is a very large nerve which connects the brain, the heart, and the gut. And it's bidirectional, which means it communicates in both directions. So many nerves, when it sends communication, like signals through neurotransmitters and whatnot, just goes from one part of the body to the other. But the vagus nerve goes both directions. So all three organs are in communication. So when you can change the vagus nerve, you are literally changing the brain, the gut, and the heart. And the way to change it is very, very easy. The easiest one is a tap on your vocal cords. Which will affect your neck and your upper back.
Okay.
You. Yeah. And you do it while you're saying, like talking, humming, like, right now I'm talking and making that sound and tapping it.
So that feels very non-exact. If that, how how do I affect something? I like, when would I do that would affect the right thing, I guess?
When you're feeling it in the moment.
Okay. So like when I'm feeling, and it seems to me like that would be more of kind of like a reset of things. Is that a good way to think of it?
It's a great way to think of it. I love that analogy. Yeah. It's a reset.
Okay. So I'm having a reaction that I recognize is not really tied to the moment necessarily. And so I want to reset that. And so I would go and I would kind of tap on my actual vocal cords.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that now. So if you can hear it.
Exactly. While talking or saying something so your vocal cords are in use.
Okay.
Yeah. And just using the vocal cords as a whole will begin to rewire the vagus nerve, which rewires the whole body. So, and using the vocal cords is very easy. Singing, humming, like those are both easy way. Gargling is another tool that is popular. So if you're feeling
gargling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just grab some water and just gargle.
Okay. Humming feels right.
Yeah, that's my favorite one is the humming because I'm not a singer, even though I'd like to be. But humming is something I can do very easily. I could do it quietly. When I used to work in an office, I could even like sneak into the bathroom, kind of like hum by myself quietly in a stall and nobody would know.
Yeah.
Down and go back out in the public.
Yeah, because I'm kind of I work remotely and I work from home now. I didn't always. I worked in my office and, there were people around and I'm trying to think of, I get an email from opposing counsel and it's that person, that one that just gets your blood boiling. And I'm thinking, what can I practically do to kind of humming? I could hum, I could shake, I could
gargle.
Yeah, I could gargle. Probably not dancing. But as I think about these things, this isn't so off from what we think about anyway. If I have a moment that like something happens, all right, let's say I'm about to cross the road, car goes in front of me. Oh my God, almost got hit. I feel like that's probably happened to many people. I would probably shudder. I would probably shake that off. Exactly. We say things like shake it off and you think, oh, well, you mean that metaphorically, but quite literally shaking these things off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good that for you, like you observe that you've naturally done it. And I think many people in our audience, like when you think about it, you naturally like shudder when you're scared.
Yeah.
Or you sigh. Sighing is another way for releasing the vocal cord. And I could purposely just let it out.
Okay. That's also how my wife knows that I'm annoyed.
Yeah. Your body's
as I sigh. When I sigh, there's usually a what's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's helpful to start observing what you do naturally, like what's your natural pattern. That's another automatic behavior you have. So you have an established pathway of releasing. So you can lean into that more.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of this is being observant, being in the moment a little bit more. And I dare say lawyers aren't always good at that.
No.
I don't think people are really good at that. I'm certainly not. How would you suggest that people go about kind of making this kind of first step of just even recognizing that I could potentially do something about this?
I'd say becoming a mindful awareness is just the easiest way is just to start tuning into any sensation in the body as you're moving through the day. So if you're working, just tune in. Do I feel anything? Do I feel a tightness here? Do I feel my stomach gurgling? Do I feel any pressure? Do I feel any sensation? And there's always a sensation. I promise you. So just becoming aware of those sensations, and over time, really, if you start doing this, I'd say over a few days or even a week, they'll become automatic, that level of tuning in, just tuning the sensations. And then you can start figuring out what is that discomfort versus just a sensation.
Okay.
Sometimes the mind can't tell us what's going on, but our body can, right? The Body Keeps Score is a very popular book on this topic. It's always keeping score.
And that's different from meditating, from even mini meditating.
Yeah. Yeah. Most meditative practices are eyes closed. This is something you do in the moment. You can do it while working, while talking, just becoming aware of how people, your environment, things are affecting you.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you naturally releasing? Like for you, the sighing or the shuddering.
Okay. And so that's kind of our short term sort of stuff. You're saying, working with a coach, working with somebody can take you even deeper into this.
Yeah, correct.
How does that happen?
Yeah. So when clients come to me often, I try to help them identify like what is that pattern that's playing out over and over again. And we find it's called the root cause. Like when did it first start? And then once we find it, then what was the pattern in the body, and we break it. It's kind of like a long process. Like it's way too long to describe here. So an example. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess that helps me a little bit with this, because when I think of the in the moment stuff, it seems very surface level, very like, okay, well, I'm anxious with this, but like, it's not really why I'm reacting that way. Like, yes, it is like there's almost twofold reasons that I'm reacting in a way. And so getting kind of further into, okay, yes, that's how you think of it. And then we can get even further into like, what's the deeper meaning behind this? What's the reason that when you walk into this courthouse, you get anxious? It's not just because you're about to go to trial. It's because, who knows, but further into it. But I can calm myself in the moment, but that's not necessarily going to take care of, like, I'm still going to always almost have to calm myself in the moment.
Exactly. Yeah. So one's like regulation and the other's reprogramming. Okay. So they're two different things. But what we've been talking about is regulation. But certainly if you keep regulating, you'll start to slowly erode that previous pathway.
Okay. So it's not, it's not just a Band-Aid.
Correct.
It can, okay.
Yeah, because if you disrupt something enough, it'll break. Yeah. Another tool I forgot to mention that I think is important and fun is laughing. So sometimes, even for myself, like when I'm really angry about something, when I'm in conversation, I just laugh. Has that ever happened to you? Right? You're like, I'm so angry. Why am I laughing?
A lot. Yeah.
So now you can do it on purpose. And TikTok is a great tool. Just find some like comedic TikTokers and just like that becomes your tool. Now you have an excuse to go on TikTok.
Yes. Okay. So I don't have to force myself to laugh. This isn't like, okay, make yourself fake laugh. It's like, go find something that's funny.
Yeah. Because you're overriding that angry neural pathway with a joyous laughter pathway.
Okay.
Yeah. And over time, what will happen is whenever you start to get angry, you'll just recognize how silly the situation is.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I can laugh at opposing counsel.
Yeah.
when we're
laugh with them, not at them.
Okay. We'll say with them.
Yeah.
Okay. So using this in business, how have you seen this kind of manifest in some of like your coaching calls or some of the people that you've been interacting with?
It shows up in everything because our body's always there. Your body doesn't go away.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I get the example of like literally the call that I was on earlier today with somebody. Earlier in this week as well, I had somebody who struggles with boundaries with her employees. They're often taking advantage of her because she's new in leadership with her company. So that's also a common, like, having boundaries in business as you're rising in your firm and having more and more employees. It's a new skill set for many of our lobsters, and they don't always know how to navigate it. Often, especially my female clients are too nice, like the nice girl syndrome is there a lot. So with that, it's like, let's figure out like why that's happening. And then start changing that behavior by tuning into the body, right? Because before it was an automatic pattern that was just happening. She wasn't even aware until after the fact.
In interacting with employees, like even if it's not a massively high stress sort of thing, but just
Correct.
kind of like making it to where you're more deliberate about how you interact with employees.
Yeah. So in this specific case, her employees were doing poor quality work. So she had to go back and redo it over and over again.
Yeah.
They were also taking very long lunch breaks and like walk breaks throughout the day. So trying to get paid basically for time that they weren't doing. So essentially taking advantage of the boss and of the firm.
And so in this type of scenario, because I can feel this scenario. I can feel this one, and I imagine that a lot of people listening can kind of feel this one as well. And what I like is this doesn't have, for me, a lot of this is about like anxiety or anger. This doesn't have that in it necessarily. But would one kind of like self-regulate and then go talk to the people about, like you're kind of getting yourself hyped up before, and not hyped up, but getting yourself regulated before going and talking to them?
Neutral. Yeah, I like to say, let's get back to neutrality.
Okay.
So even on a spectrum, you can be like excited, which is like high energy, or you can be low energy, like sad or depressed. But we want to be at neutral, because either side is like not necessarily good, because you're not in control of yourself. So regulate, but first become aware, right? As we talked about. Like in the case of this lapster, she wasn't even aware most of the time until it was too late, like days later, weeks later, like, oh, this pattern's happening. So by having that tuning into the body sensation, the body tells her like, oh, something's going wrong. My brain's not telling me, but my body's telling me. Let me tune into that. Oh, now I'm aware of what's going wrong. I'm being taken advantage of in this moment right now. Right. And now I can regulate, and now I can go have that conversation and nip this in the bud. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I can also see where that could be helpful, like literally in trial, in the moment. I remember being in trial in some small courtrooms, and things go very fast in General Sessions Court in Tennessee, and it can get heated very quickly, can get quick, and your heart rate goes through the roof very, very quickly. And I could have used some kind of discreet self-regulation sort of things. Like I could see tapping being, if it's tapping on my thigh, even, I could see where this could be used in that situation, but also recognizing it.
Yes. Yeah. And for very discreet, I like to tap my toes. Nobody's seeing my toes inside of shoes.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about, like, this is theoretically, we would actually get to a place where we're not having that reaction in that moment. And so we would have potentially said, okay, let's kind of get ourselves to neutral before we even go into court. And then we don't have that reaction. But if we're having it in the moment and we need to regulate, then, we're really kind of trying to mitigate in a sense. And like, anything is better than just, having your heart rate skyrocket.
Yeah. Another way to sort of like have preventative measure, like if you know something's going to be triggering like a courtroom, is to actually visualize it and start feeling in your body and then changing it. So there's so like right now, like with this courthouse example, if you close your eyes and just imagine that courthouse, and then imagine yourself, and then just what are the sensations in your body that's coming up, like tune into that. And now imagine yourself getting closer to the courthouse. I bet the sensations will change, they'll magnify. Now imagine yourself walking into the courthouse. Are the sensations getting stronger and more pronounced for you? Yeah, so now then change it. So like distort it however you want. You can either like diffuse it everywhere, or you can tap it out, or breathe, or all of the tools we just discussed.
Shaking it out.
There you go.
Shaking it out for those of you who can't see. Okay.
Yeah. Do you feel different?
I do, actually.
Yeah. So we just did it for like 2 seconds, right? Like you shaking it out. But imagine if you stood there for 5 minutes with that visual in your mind and shake it out. Then you're breaking that association, that anchor, like Pavlov's dogs.
Yeah. Okay. I can imagine this for sport, for anything, for flying in an airplane. I don't always do great flying in airplanes. And so I do wind up having to do some meditative stuff in order to get past that anxiety. But I've never thought about, well, you could probably imagine the scenario, imagine going into the airport. The airport doesn't bother me. It's the once we've taken off and we're in a, tube of metal 30,000 feet above the air. Above the earth. I can see this in right now, even in many scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the airplane we did a presentation, Lawyerist with Affinity for Lemonade earlier this year, and I sort of went in depth with these tools. One of the participants was flying that day, and somebody else and their passenger was having a panic attack, and she helped that person completely calm down and be able to fly in that airplane with these tools.
For a second there, I thought you said be able to fly the airplane, like it was the pilot that had that.
Oh, wrong profession for that person.
No, that's amazing because, as we go about in running our businesses, I want to say it's stressful. It is stressful to run a business, but it's emotional. Mm-hmm. I think is really more about it. We can get stressed. We can get depressed. We can get angry. We can get sad. We can get cranky. I can get cranky. But being able to just recognize that sounds like, step one at the very least, right?
Yeah. Awareness, as we did discuss, is the key. Yeah. And as you're talking about anxiety and depression and stress, I think that, this Buddhist saying, like, anxiety is about the future and depression is about the past. Mm. So when you think about it, anytime you're anxious, it's always about something that is yet to happen. Mm-hmm. And whenever we're upset or sad, it's about things that have already occurred. So you can pull up those memories of the past and to regulate it, right? Like we discussed, or the future, and then regulate it.
I like the visualization aspect of this. I think that's something that you can, that I can, for me, I can put that into practice pretty easily,
Because when you visualize it, then you're bringing up those somatic sensations, because we want to find those sensations and change it.
And then break that.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do we need to know about somatic regulation?
Yeah. Another thing that's actually important is posture. So this is something I've been personally playing around with a lot lately, is when we even when we think about like someone who's depressed, they're like this. So what I'm doing right now for anyone who's listening is like my shoulders are forward, my head is low. Mm-hmm. Like when you think of somebody's depressed, it's like that Eeyore, right? That sad Eeyore. Yeah. And when somebody's confident, it's like that Superman or Superwoman pose, right? So your posture automatically changes with your mood. So, but what if you change your posture and therefore you affect your mood? Go the other direction.
So you do a power pose.
Yeah, that would be one example. And there's like a lot of science behind that, but really any pose that makes you feel different, the opposite of what you want to feel. So right now, if I'm feeling angry, right, I might, for me, I might be like my head might come out forward, my eyes might get big. It might be like micro things changing in my face, not necessarily my body, but both. And I can feel like my hips going forward as well. But if I'm calm, I'll probably more relaxed, more leaning back. So my posture is actually the opposite for calm versus angry. For me, it's different for everybody, right? So identify what it is and just literally get in the posture, because then you're tapping into those established neural pathways of your body.
Okay. So kind of a fake it till you make it sort of thing, but just like, okay, well, put yourself in a posture, in a position that is that you would be in if you were relaxed, if you were calm, if you were fine, neutral.
Yeah. And then tap, shake, laugh, sigh, whatever, all of it.
Okay. I like it. All right. We're getting to the end of our time, Supriya. What obviously this isn't everything about somatic regulation or anything like that. What else should we know? What's kind of a last little thing if somebody wants to jump into this type of thing, if somebody wants to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and use that, what should they be doing?
So another cool tool that you can Google or YouTube, and there's a lot of like clinical evidence behind this. It would be too much for me to discuss, but you can easily YouTube, like watch a 5-minute YouTube video. It's called EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's based on acupressure points on your face, as well as your a couple of points on the arm, but mostly the face. And acupuncture, we know exists out there, which is the science of meridians, of these pathways in the body. And again, there's like so much clinical evidence on like the efficacy of acupuncture. And now we also have so much clinical evidence of EFT. So EFT is you yourself tapping on different points.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a specific phrase and a specific pattern that you follow, but anyone can YouTube it. So you just type in EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique, and then the thing that you're trying to solve, like maybe anxiety or anger or whatever. And then you'll just find a tutorial and you follow along with it. It's
okay.
Really
so EFT and then the thing. And then, and somebody will, man, the YouTubes. This is why we're getting our stuff on the YouTubes, because it's, everything's out there. You can find so much.
And one other thing I want to share, I was actually talking about somatic regulation with the other coaches here at Lawyerist and Affinity the other day. And one of our coaches does this with their dog, who often has a lot of anxiety and goes into epilepsy. I had no idea this is effective for non-humans.
Well, I guess we started with this conversation with non-humans, right?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, we got so far away from it. I wouldn't have thought that it was either. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Specifically, there's a point right below the nose that where your nose and your upper lip meets. If you even on yourself, you can find it. It's super tender. So he presses that point on the dog's nose, like right below the nose, and they instantly calm down. And another thing called eye compression. So finding that tender spot in the inside of your eyes where your eye meets your nose, I guess, and then pressing it
the bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, the bridge.
There's probably some sort of very, very technical term for both of those places on your face.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is good for humans, but for anybody who's a pet, who's like maybe has trouble like traveling like in a car or otherwise, you can do this for your pets.
Nice. All right. Well, we can make ourselves better and our best companions.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Supriya, thanks for talking to me about this. I'm gonna go try some of this. go kind of regulate. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope it helps.
Thank you, and as always, love having you on here, Supriya. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Zack.